Hi, this is Michael at TV Radio 1972 with a follow-up video to a review that I did a few months ago. There was a recent firmware update to the Choyong A8W portable internet radio. With this update, a number of upgrades were made in order to improve the radio. Now, before I get to those, I'll show you how to get it. Press the settings button, and then you scroll down and select version info, and here it is. In my case, I'm using the latest version. However, if there's a later version listed, it'll show you what that version is, and then give you instructions on how to update the firmware. Now make sure you have a TF or SD card inserted before you update the firmware, and make sure you let it completely update. When it's completed, then you can use the radio again. But there was one item in the settings that I noticed that was added, the after sales service, which just lists their website, YouTube, and Facebook information. That's the only change in the settings menu. Now to the actual upgrades. First, we have the voice search. That has been fixed due to an upgrade to ChatGPT, and because of that upgrade, it now works properly on this radio. And I'll demonstrate it. Now I'll press the microphone pause button. I long press it. And then say whatever I want to search for. Freestyle. And there it is. It lists all the stations that have the name Freestyle in it. Now I'm not going to play them because there's copyrighted music on it. But I just want to show you that the voice search works. Now what I'll do next is tell you the second upgrade. Enhance compatibility for streaming stations, which enables some radio stations that could not be played before can now be played smoothly. That's an enhancement in the compatibility, so that's the second upgrade. And the third one being that they've added a podcast function, which is great because now I can listen to podcasts on this radio. So I'll show you how to get there. Press the OK or menu button, and then you can either use the knob or the previous and next buttons to scroll through the search until you get to podcast, and here it is. And then I press OK or the multifunction knob, and here it is. It has a search feature of its own, which I'll show to you right now because I'm right there. Now you must select either OK or the multifunction knob, and then you can use the microphone button to search for podcast. Wrestling. And there it is. It shows the podcast. Now you have to be in the podcast search in order to access, or it'll think you're looking for radio stations. But here they are. It lists a number of wrestling podcasts that I can play for you. So that search works. And then the other options are My Podcast, Recently Played, News, Society and Culture, Sports, Technology, Music, Interviews, Automotive, Business Management, Science and Nature, Education and Growth, Pets and Animals, Storytelling, Fiction and Animation, Health and Wellness, Family, Games, Religion and Spirituality, Literature and Arts, Entertainment, and then back to search. I'll show you my podcast just to demonstrate some podcasts. I've saved 2 of them so far. The VHFDX podcast and Glenn Hauser's World of Radio. So I'll select the podcast, and it plays
Bryce Foster. Bryce, happy December, happy meteorological winter to you. How are things going on Cape Cod?
Yes, a happy almost winter solstice and holidays to everyone, and you, Nick. Everything is well here. Life has been busy. Not a lot of time for DX other than sitting here talking about it. So,
and the good thing about it is it will remember track position as long as you don't change to another episode. So if you're playing this episode and you stay on this and not switch to another episode, it'll remember track position. So, with that, I want to play Glenn Hauser's World of Radio.
Monaco, Myanmar, North America, Philippines, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Solomon Islands, Turkey, UK, USA, and the propagation outlook. Standard disclaimer. Last week we began with a report about Afghanistan reactivating some medium-wave frequencies around its borders. By the Taliban, of course. And now there's been further speculation about what frequencies
now,
may be
I'm going to press list, and it shows you previous podcast,
says,
previous episodes of a podcast.
864 and 1035 kilohertz were used earlier, and probably one of those has been reactivated.
So, I can pause it using the red button. And if I want to go back to the DX podcast.
Very, very looking forward to that. I've got my,
it remembers track position.
Screen pulled up on the other monitor, watching for some little meteor scatter going by, and enjoying a nice cold morning as we're recording here.
And that's a demonstration of that. Oh, I wanted to show you recent podcast because I wanted to show you how to do the favorite or save podcast. You can save podcast. I'm going to play Wrestling Observer Live.
Yes. I think a lot of people, nobody wants to go back to Vegas after that long week. Too close, dude. Too close. I wouldn't want to go. And this is a show I would go to all the time, Double or Nothing. Not after people going to WrestleMania, they're not going to run out there. We're going to talk about this, and
Now, if I want to save a podcast, I press the favorite button, which is this white heart. There it is, added to my favorites. And if I want to unsave it, press the favorite button again, and it's removed. But I'm going to save it, because it'll take me to the next upgrade, which is the favorites are divided into stations and podcasts. So now, if I go to the main screen here, then press the favorite button, it'll show favorite stations and favorite podcasts. So now it divides it. So I have one section for radio stations, and then one section for podcast. Pretty neat. Now, the fifth upgrade is add the function of searching for and adding radio stations through Choyong's website, which I was already able to do. So I was able to do that already. But now you can also search for and save available podcasts as favorites from Choyong's official website. So now I can save them through either the radio or the website. And then the sixth and final upgrade being that they added a VF-VM function when working in FM mode, which means now you could tune the stations by not just by scanning and storing, but now also by frequency. So that means I can tune in incremental steps. Now, reception's not very good with the internal antenna, so I use this Type-C hookup here as an antenna. So what I'm going to do, press FM.
First, let's get a check of your weekend AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Brian Thompson.
It's going to be a warm start to the weekend later today. Highs will get back into the 80s. It'll feel even a bit humid at times. Now, a lot of the day today is going to be dry with just a spotty afternoon thunderstorm, but there will be a couple more thunderstorms that develop into the evening hours tonight.
Now, it's on frequency mode now. Now, if I want to switch it, then I press either OK or the multifunction knob in order to switch to preset mode, which is a preset here. Now on preset mode, when you search, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do a search now just to make sure, because the last time I did a search, the frequencies were 0.1 below. But when you're in frequency mode, the station shows up on both the 0.1 below and on the frequency. So now it shows up on both. And it seems to me that the search function, yeah, it's still not very good. It doesn't pick up that well.
Show from 3 p.m. 6 this morning after some scary moments.
Yeah,
Friday,
so the search is still off. However, on frequency mode,
the car had apparently been left running at the location it was stolen.
It's also on 92.3.
Was found about 10 minutes later.
So I find that the local stations are on both the 0.1 off and on frequency.
They put them on the floor and they cuffed them. And everything happened so fast.
The suspect, identified as Maurice Stevens, is facing numerous charges, including grand larceny.
And because of that frequency mode that's been added, I can do a proper reception report now. And my FM reception report, with just the internal antenna alone without this hookup, I got 41 stations, 24 okay to good, and 17 weak signals. And with this external setup, I got 47 stations, 33 okay to good, and 14 weak signals. So, yeah, not that great. Just average to borderline below average from my area. So, my final thoughts on this radio with the new versions. Now, I'll go over my likes. Portable size, audio sounds good. Search stations by location, the ability to add your own radio stations through Choyong's website. Good aggregator. But the additional likes are that the voice search works. Podcast function has been added. And I can also search for available podcasts on the website. And can now tune FM manually through the frequencies. So, those are my additional likes. Which means my dislikes now are no telescopic antenna, misses stations when scanning or storing FM, stations show up at both 0.1 below and on frequency, having to use Type-C jack for headphones or antenna instead of a 3.5 millimeter jack, and the battery's not replaceable. Now, I find also that the radio hasn't been freezing up lately when I use this button, at least not lately, but I really can't give it a conclusive finding on the radio freezing up by using this too much. But so far it's worked, so that's fine. So, would I recommend this radio with the updates? Yes. I can now recommend this fully instead of giving a maybe recommendation. And because of the update, I'm going to raise the rating of this radio to a 7 out of 10, which is 3.5 stars. And those are my final thoughts, and that's my new rating. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notifications to be informed on upcoming radio reviews, DXing, local, and other radio-related content. Have a good week, everyone. Stay safe and God bless. Bye-bye.